Okay, so this is the other part to the 500 hats of Bartholomew. Your Majesty, cried the salt alike, but the king and the Grand Duke were way up there where they couldn't hear. They already reached the top of the highest tower. Bartholomew was falling just behind. Step right out here to get on that wall, snapped the Grand Duke. I can't wait to push you off. Okay. Okay, so they're getting ready to push him off. But when Bartholomew stepped up on the wall, they grasped it in amazement. He was wearing the most beautiful hat they ever seen in the kingdom of Did. It was a ruby larger than any the king himself had ever owned. It was ostrich plums and cockatoo plums and mockingbird plums and the paradise plums. Beside such a hat, even the king's crown seemed like nothing. The Grand Duke Wilfred took a quick step forward. Bartholomew thought his end had come at last. Wait, said the king. He could not take his eyes off the magnificent hat. I can't wait, said the Grand Duke, talking back to the king. I'm going to push him off now. And the new big hat makes me madder than ever. And he flung out his arms to push Bartholomew off. There he is, trying to push him off. But the king was quicker than Wilfred. He grabbed him by the back of his fine lace collar. This is to teach you, your majesty, said sternly. The Grand Duke Snivel talked back to the king, and he turned the Grand Duke Wilfred over his knee and spanked him soundly right on the seat of his royal silky pants. And now, smiled the king, lifting Bartholomew from down the wall. It would be nice if you could sell me that wonderful hat. 498, 499, broke into a tired voice of Saul Lorick, who had just right on top of the steps, and that he pointed to the hat that on Bartholomew's head makes exactly 500. 500, exclaimed the king. Will you sell for 500 pieces of gold? Anything you say, sire, said Bartholomew. I've never sold one before. The Duke's hands trembled with joy as he reached for the hat. Slowly, Bartholomew felt the weight of the great hat lifting from his head. Then when he held his breath, then suddenly he felt the cold evening breeze blow through his hair. His face broke into a happy smile. The head of Bartholomew Cubbins was bare. Look, your majesty, look, he shouted to the king. There he is with the hat. No, you look at me, answered the king, and he put on the great hat on right over his crown. King and Bartholomew went down the counting room to count out the gold. When the king set Bartholomew home to his parents, no basket on his arm, no hat on his head, but with 500 pieces of gold in a bag. And the king commanded that the hat he had bought and all the other hats to be kept forever in the great crystal case on the side of his throne. But neither Bartholomew Cubbins nor King Dorwin himself nor anyone else in the kingdom of Dead ever explained how the strange thing had happened. They could only just say it happened to happen and was not very likely to happen again. Here he's walking around. Okay, so there's all these books that he wrote again. There's lines of hats, and he has a hat on again, which is strange, because the other picture, he had no hat. So, was it before or after? And anyway, I think parts of this book was hard, because, well, not necessarily hard, but like, the counting was a little bit difficult in some places. And I would say I feel like the hats were not very great, in my opinion, because it was like, like ostrich feathers and all that other stuff, and yeah, And it didn't really make any sense how the king was just so mad how he didn't, the hat didn't come off, and yet he wasn't mad that anybody else in the kingdom had hats on anyway. So I didn't get that. And I do think it was nice that the king saved him, but I don't like necessarily how he did it. Because, like, he kind of, like, acted like the other guy was beneath him in some ways and, like, spanked him and stuff. So, yeah, that's how I feel.